The afternoon sun spilled golden light through the blinds of the small cafe, casting warm stripes across the polished wooden floor. It should have been a peaceful day for Mary Kennedy, wife of Senator John Neely Kennedy, a woman known for her grace, kindness, and ability to strike up a conversation with anyone. But today, her smile was missing. She stood frozen, hands trembling, as the cafe's new manager, a tall, sharp-faced man with a smirk that carried more arrogance than confidence, leaned in close enough to make his words sting. "We don't need your kind here," he said coldly, his voice dripping with disdain. "You and your husband's politics don't belong in my cafe. You can take your coffee and go somewhere else." Mary blinked in shock. It wasn't about her coffee. It wasn't even about her. This was political spite in its rawest form. People around them had turned to watch, some pretending not to notice, others whispering. She wanted to defend herself, to push back, but she felt her voice caught in her throat. Without a word, she quietly left, the bell above the door chiming behind her like a sad little farewell. That evening, Mary sat in their living room, staring at the fire, her hands folded tightly in her lap. John arrived home late from a long day in Washington, tie loosened, jacket slung over his arm. He could tell immediately that something was wrong. Mary rarely let much bother her, but her eyes told him a story she didn't have the energy to speak aloud. When she finally told him what had happened, she downplayed it. "It's fine, John. I just won't go back there. No need to make a fuss." But John Kennedy was not a man who stayed silent in the face of injustice, especially when it was aimed at someone he loved. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't storm out of the house. Instead, he smiled faintly, kissed her hand, and said, "All right, let's handle it our way." The next morning, downtown Baton Rouge woke up to an unusual sight. Parked right in front of that same cafe was a gleaming, deep blue Rolls-Royce Phantom, polished to a mirror shine, sunlight dancing off its chrome grille. It wasn't just any Rolls-Royce. It was John Kennedy's, and he wasn't alone. John stepped out, dressed sharply in a tailored suit, his very presence drawing eyes from blocks away. Behind him emerged several local reporters, their cameras ready. He didn't barge into the cafe. Instead, he walked in calmly, holding the door for the camera crew. The same manager who had thrown Mary out the day before froze when he saw him. "Good morning," John said evenly, his voice calm but carrying weight. "Yesterday, my wife was asked to leave your cafe because of who she's married to. That's your right. You can serve who you want, but I want everyone to see exactly what kind of business you're running. I want the folks in this town to know who you are before they give you another dollar." He didn't shout. He didn't insult. He simply laid the truth bare on camera for everyone to see. Then, in a move no one expected, John turned to the counter, ordered the largest coffee on the menu, and paid in cash a crisp $100 bill. When the stunned barista handed him his change, he smiled and said, "You can keep it. You might need it after this week." By noon, the story was everywhere. Social media lit up. Customers who had been loyal to the cafe for years suddenly swore they'd never set foot inside again. Others left one-star reviews recounting the incident in solidarity. The manager tried to spin the story, but the video footage told the truth without embellishment. And while the cafe's reputation crumbled, John and Mary sat on their porch that evening, sipping tea. Mary looked at her husband and shook her head with a mixture of amusement and gratitude. "You didn't have to do all that." She said softly, "Yes, I did," he replied, eyes twinkling. "Because when you stood there yesterday, you weren't just my wife. You were every person who's ever been treated unfairly for what they believe, and I'm not letting that slide." Within weeks, the cafe closed its doors for good. And in its place, a new shop opened, owned by a young couple who valued kindness over politics, conversation over conflict. Mary became one of their most loyal customers, and not because of her husband's status, but because the new owners treated her the same way she treated everyone else, with dignity. In the end, the Rolls-Royce was just a symbol, a reminder that some battles aren't fought with anger, but with class, truth, and the courage to stand up without stooping down. And for those who had witnessed it, the image of John Kennedy stepping out of that car, not to intimidate, but to make a point, became a story they would tell for years. Because sometimes the quietest voice in the room delivers the loudest message.